Alzheimer's is not inevitable, and you have more control over your brain than you think. I'm going to share 7 strategies with you today that can reduce your risk of Alzheimer's disease by up to 60%. Not slow it down, not delay it slightly. Reduce your actual risk by more than half. Most doctors tell you that Alzheimer's is genetic and there's nothing you can do. That's not true. The latest research shows that only 5 to 10% of Alzheimer's cases are purely genetic. The other 90 to 95% are influenced by lifestyle factors you can control. I've watched thousands of patients implement brain protective strategies and maintain sharp cognitive function well into their 80s and 90s. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what to do. Let me ask you something. Are you worried about your memory? Maybe you're forgetting names more often, misplacing your keys, walking into a room and forgetting why. Maybe you have a family history of Alzheimer's and you're terrified you'll get it too. What if I told you that your brain has remarkable capacity to protect itself and even repair damage? What if the lifestyle choices you make today could build up a cognitive reserve that protects you for decades? What if preventing Alzheimer's is actually simpler than you think? I'm going to prove it to you, and I'm going to give you a clear action plan. Here's what frustrates me about how we approach Alzheimer's disease. We wait until someone has symptoms. We wait until their memory is already failing. We wait until brain cells have already died. Then we try to treat it with medications that barely work. But Alzheimer's disease starts 20 to 30 years before symptoms appear. The plaques and tangles that destroy brain cells begin accumulating in your 40s and 50s. By the time you notice memory problems, massive damage has already occurred. This is backwards. We should be preventing Alzheimer's decades before it starts. And we can, the science is clear on this. But most doctors don't teach prevention. They wait for disease and then manage decline. And here's what really concerns me. Alzheimer's is one of the most devastating diseases that exists. It doesn't just take your memory. It takes your personality, your independence, your ability to recognize your own family. You slowly lose yourself while your loved ones watch helplessly. Think about the next 20 years. If you don't protect your brain, your risk of Alzheimer's increases dramatically after age 65. 1 in 9 people over 65 develop it, 1 in 3 over 85. Those are devastating odds. But they're not inevitable. Let's change them. Starting right now. Strategy 1. Exercise is the most powerful brain protection. Exercise is the single most effective intervention for preventing Alzheimer's disease. Nothing else comes close. Not supplements, not brain games, not medications. Exercise. Here's what happens when you exercise. Your brain releases a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF is like fertilizer for your brain. It stimulates the growth of new brain cells. It strengthens the connections between existing neurons. It protects brain cells from damage and death. Additionally, exercise increases blood flow to your brain. Your brain requires 20% of your body's oxygen supply, despite being only 2% of your body weight. Better blood flow means better oxygen delivery. Better oxygen delivery means healthier brain cells. Exercise also reduces inflammation throughout your body, including in your brain. Chronic inflammation is one of the primary drivers of Alzheimer's disease. Exercise powerfully suppresses this inflammation. The research is overwhelming. People who exercise regularly have a 40 to 50% reduced risk of developing Alzheimer's compared to sedentary people. 40 to 50%. That's better than any medication that exists or will ever exist. But most people don't exercise consistently. They start and stop. They make excuses, and their brain suffers for it. I had a patient, Dorothy, 67 years old, whose mother had died from Alzheimer's. Dorothy was terrified she'd get it too. She had the APOE4 gene, which increases Alzheimer's risk. She was sedentary, overweight, declining cognitively. Her memory was getting noticeably worse. We started her on a simple exercise program, walking 45 minutes daily, 5 days per week, nothing extreme, just consistent aerobic exercise. Within 3 months, her cognitive testing improved. Within 6 months, her memory was sharper than it had been in years. She's now 74, still walking daily, still cognitively sharp, no signs of dementia. Your action step: commit to 45 minutes of aerobic exercise at least 5 days per week. This is non-negotiable for brain protection. Walk briskly, bike, swim, dance, jog if your joints allow. The specific activity doesn't matter. The consistency and intensity do. You need to elevate your heart rate. You need to sustain it for at least 30 to 45 minutes. You need to do this regularly. Start today. Put it in your calendar. Treat it like the most important medication you take. Because it is. It's protecting your brain from the most devastating disease of aging. Do this for the rest of your life. Your risk of Alzheimer's will drop by 40 to 50%. Strategy number 2. Eat a Mediterranean diet. The second most powerful strategy is following a Mediterranean diet. The research on this is crystal clear. People who follow a Mediterranean diet have a 30 to 40% reduced risk of Alzheimer's disease. Here's why it works. The Mediterranean diet is rich in foods that reduce inflammation and oxidative stress in the brain. Olive oil contains polyphenols that protect brain cells. Fatty fish provides omega-3 fatty acids that build healthy brain cell membranes. Vegetables and fruits provide antioxidants that neutralize free radicals that damage neurons. Additionally, this diet is low in foods that harm the brain. Minimal processed foods, minimal added sugar, minimal red meat. These inflammatory foods accelerate brain aging. Avoiding them protects cognitive function. Multiple large studies have followed tens of thousands of people for decades. The pattern is consistent. People who eat Mediterranean style have dramatically lower rates of cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease. This holds true regardless of genetics. But most Americans eat a standard American diet. Processed foods, added sugar, inflammatory oils, very little fish, minimal vegetables. This diet accelerates brain aging and increases Alzheimer's risk. I worked with a man, Harold, 71, who was experiencing mild cognitive impairment. His memory was declining. He failed some cognitive tests. He was on the path toward Alzheimer's. His diet was terrible: fast food, processed snacks, almost no vegetables or fish. We transitioned him to a Mediterranean diet. Olive oil as his primary fat. Fish 3 times weekly. Vegetables with every meal. Berries daily. Nuts. Whole grains. Minimal processed food. Within 6 months, his cognitive testing improved. Within 1 year, he'd regained most of the function he'd lost. He's now 75, still cognitively sharp, still following the diet. Your action step: adopt these Mediterranean diet principles starting today. Add these foods, extra virgin olive oil, as your primary fat. Use it liberally. Fatty fish like salmon, sardines, or mackerel 3 times weekly. Leafy greens and vegetables with every meal. Berries daily. Nuts as snacks. Whole grains instead of refined. Remove these foods, processed foods with long ingredient lists, added sugars and sweetened beverages, red meat more than once weekly, butter and other saturated fats. This isn't a temporary diet. This is how you eat to protect your brain. Make these changes permanent. Within 3 months you'll notice sharper thinking. Within 1 year you've significantly reduced your Alzheimer's risk. Strategy Thruster 3. Prioritize deep sleep. Sleep is when your brain clears out the toxic proteins that cause Alzheimer's disease. If you're not sleeping well, These proteins accumulate. Your risk skyrockets. Here's what happens during deep sleep. Your brain has a waste clearance system called the glymphatic system. During deep sleep, this system activates and flushes out beta amyloid and tau-AU, the proteins that form the plaques and tangles in Alzheimer's disease. If you don't get enough deep sleep, these proteins build up, year after year, decade after decade. The research shows that people who consistently sleep less than 7 hours per night have a 60% increased risk of developing Alzheimer's. People with sleep apnea have double the risk. Poor sleep quality is one of the strongest predictors of future cognitive decline. But most people over 50 don't sleep well. They go to bed too late. They wake up frequently. They have undiagnosed sleep apnea. Their deep sleep is inadequate, and their brain is accumulating the very proteins that will cause Alzheimer's. I had a patient, Eleanor, 64, whose memory was declining. She slept poorly, 5 to 6 hours per night. She woke up multiple times. She never felt rested. When we did a sleep study, she had moderate sleep apnea. Every night, her oxygen levels dropped repeatedly. Her brain wasn't getting proper deep sleep or adequate oxygen. We treated her sleep apnea with a CPAP machine. We implemented better sleep hygiene. Within 2 months, she was sleeping 7 to 8 hours with good deep sleep. Within 4 months, her memory improved noticeably. Her cognitive fog lifted. She felt mentally sharp again. Your action step: commit to 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night. Not 5, not 6, 7 to 8. Create a sleep schedule. Go to bed at the same time every night. Wake at the same time every morning. Your brain needs consistency. Optimize your sleep environment. Completely dark bedroom. Cool temperature between 65 and 68 degrees. No screens for 1 hour before bed. If you snore, get evaluated. For sleep apnea, this is critical. Sleep apnea directly damages your brain and dramatically increases Alzheimer's risk. It must be treated. Your brain's waste clearance system depends on quality sleep. Give it what it needs. Your cognitive future depends on it. Strategy number 4. Maintain strong social connections. Social isolation is one of the strongest risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. People who are socially isolated have a 50 to 60% increased risk compared to those with strong social connections. Here's why social engagement protects your brain. Social interaction is cognitively demanding. You have to listen. Interpret emotions. Respond appropriately. Remember details about people's lives. This constant cognitive stimulation builds and maintains neural connections. Additionally, social connection reduces stress and depression. Chronic stress and depression accelerate brain aging and increase Alzheimer's risk. Strong relationships buffer against these damaging effects. Loneliness also drives inflammation. Socially isolated people have higher levels of inflammatory markers. This inflammation damages brain cells over time. The research is clear. People with strong social networks maintain better cognitive function as they age. People who are lonely or isolated decline faster and develop Alzheimer's at higher rates. But modern life creates isolation. People retire and lose daily social contact. Friends move away or die. Adult children are busy. Many older adults spend most of their time alone. Their cognitive function declines proportionally. I worked with a widow, Margaret, 73, whose husband had died 2 years prior. She'd become increasingly isolated. She rarely left home. She had minimal social contact. Her memory was declining rapidly. She was depressed, cognitively foggy, heading toward dementia. We focused on rebuilding her social connections. She joined a book club, started volunteering at a food bank twice weekly, reconnected with old friends. Within 3 months, her mood improved dramatically. Within 6 months, her memory was sharper. The cognitive decline reversed. Social engagement had saved her brain. Your action step: commit to meaningful social interaction at least 3 times per week. This means actual face-to-face connection, not texting or social media. Join groups, book clubs, volunteer organizations, exercise classes, religious communities, hobby groups. The specific activity matters less than the consistent social contact. Maintain relationships, call friends weekly, schedule regular coffee dates, visit family, make social connection a priority. If you're isolated, start small, 1 activity, 1 group, 1 friend. Build from there. Your brain needs social stimulation. It's not optional. For cognitive health, make it happen. Strategy 35: challenge your brain with novel activities. Cognitive stimulation builds cognitive reserve, your brain's resilience against Alzheimer's disease. The more you challenge your brain with new, complex activities, the more resistant you become to cognitive decline. Here's how it works. When you learn something new, your brain forms new neural connections. These connections create redundancy in your neural networks. If some brain cells are damaged by Alzheimer's pathology, other connections can compensate. This is cognitive reserve. People with high cognitive reserve can have significant Alzheimer's pathology in their brains, but show no symptoms. Their brains have built enough redundancy to work around the damage. People with low cognitive reserve show symptoms much earlier, with less pathology. The key is novelty and complexity. Your brain needs to be challenged by activities that are new and difficult. Doing the same crossword puzzle every day doesn't build reserve. Learning a new language does. Playing the same card game you've played for years doesn't help. Learning to play a musical instrument does. The research shows that people who engage in cognitively stimulating activities throughout their lives have a 30 to 40% reduced risk of Alzheimer's. But many people stop learning as they age. They stick to familiar routines. They avoid challenging activities. They stop pushing their brains. Their cognitive reserve never builds. When Alzheimer's pathology develops, they have no buffer. Symptoms appear earlier and progress faster. I had a patient, Frank, 69, who was concerned about his memory. His father had Alzheimer's. Frank did the same things every day. Same routine, same activities. His brain wasn't being challenged. His cognitive reserve was low. We identified new activities to learn. He started taking Spanish lessons, began learning piano, took up woodworking. These activities were difficult and frustrating initially. But within 6 months, his memory testing improved. His brain was building new connections, building reserve, building protection. Your action step: choose 1 new, complex skill to learn. Commit to practicing it at least 3 times per week for the next 6 months. Options that work: learn a new language, learn a musical instrument, take up painting or drawing, learn dance, take a course on a subject you know nothing about, learn computer programming, take up chess. The key is, it must be new and challenging. If it's easy or familiar, it won't build cognitive reserve. Embrace the difficulty. That's your brain forming new connections. Maintain cognitive challenge throughout your life. Your brain will build the resilience to resist Alzheimer's. Strategy 36: protect your cardiovascular health. What's good for your heart is good for your brain. Cardiovascular disease dramatically increases Alzheimer's risk. Protecting your heart protects your brain. Here's the connection. Your brain depends entirely on blood flow for oxygen and nutrients. When you have cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, atherosclerosis, blood flow to your brain is reduced. Brain cells become starved. They're more vulnerable to damage. Alzheimer's pathology progresses faster. Additionally, cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's share common mechanisms: inflammation, oxidative stress, insulin resistance. These processes damage both your heart and your brain simultaneously. The research shows that people with untreated high blood pressure in midlife have double the risk of Alzheimer's later in life. People with high cholesterol have 60% increased risk. People with diabetes have double to triple the risk. But cardiovascular health is controllable. Blood pressure can be normalized. Cholesterol can be optimized. Diabetes can be reversed. When you fix these conditions, you're not just protecting your heart, you're protecting your brain. I worked with a man, Robert, 62, who had high blood pressure and high cholesterol, both untreated. He was at high risk for both heart disease and Alzheimer's. His memory was already showing signs of decline. We addressed his cardiovascular health aggressively: Mediterranean diet, daily exercise, stress management, his blood pressure normalized, his cholesterol optimized. Within 6 months, not only did his cardiovascular markers improve, but his cognitive function improved as well. His memory sharpened, his thinking cleared. Protecting his heart had protected his brain. Your action step: know your cardiovascular numbers and optimize them. Blood pressure should be below 120/80. If it's elevated, implement the strategies I discussed in my blood pressure video. This is critical for brain health. Cholesterol: total cholesterol under 200, LDL under 100, HDL above 50. If yours are off, fix them with diet, exercise, and medication if necessary. Blood sugar: fasting blood glucose under 100, A1C under 5.7. If you have prediabetes or diabetes, reverse it using the strategies I discussed in my diabetes video. Exercise regularly, as discussed in Strategy 1. This protects both heart and brain. Your brain's health depends on your cardiovascular health. Optimize it, maintain it. Your cognitive future depends on it. Strategy 37. Manage chronic stress. Chronic stress accelerates brain aging and increases Alzheimer's risk. Stress management is essential for brain protection. Here's what chronic stress does to your brain. It elevates cortisol continuously. High cortisol damages the hippocampus, the brain region critical for forming new memories. It also increases inflammation and oxidative stress throughout the brain. These processes accelerate the development of Alzheimer's pathology. Studies show that people with chronic stress have 20 to 30% increased risk of cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease. People with untreated depression or anxiety have even higher risk. But stress management powerfully protects the brain. Meditation, mindfulness, and deep breathing lower cortisol. They reduce inflammation. They protect the hippocampus from damage. Research on long-time meditators shows they have more grey matter in their brains and slower rates of brain aging compared to non-meditators. Regular meditation practice can reduce Alzheimer's risk by 20 to 30%. I had a patient, Susan, 66, who was under chronic severe stress. She was caring for her husband with dementia while working full-time. Her own memory was declining. She was exhausted, anxious, constantly overwhelmed. Her cortisol levels were sky-high. Her brain was suffering. We implemented a stress management protocol: 20 minutes of meditation daily, regular yoga, therapy, respite care for her husband. Within 3 months, her stress decreased noticeably. Within 6 months, her memory improved. Her cognitive fog lifted. Managing her stress had protected her brain from accelerated aging. Your action step: implement daily stress management practices. This is not optional for brain health. Meditation: start with 10 minutes daily. Use a guided meditation app. Increase to 20 minutes over time. Do this every single day. Deep breathing: practice box breathing twice daily. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out, 4 counts hold. 5 minutes each session. Address your stressors. Identify your major stress sources. Take concrete action to address them. Get help. Delegate. Set boundaries. Reduce commitments. Your brain cannot withstand chronic stress without damage. Protect it. Manage your stress. Your cognitive future depends on it. The transformation. Now let me tell you what happens when you implement all 7 strategies for the next year. Month 1, you start exercising daily. You transition to a Mediterranean diet. You're sleeping better. Your mood improves. Your energy increases. You feel mentally sharper. Month 3, you've built strong social connections. You're learning a new skill. Your cardiovascular numbers are improving. You're practicing daily stress management. You notice your memory is better. You're thinking more clearly. Month 6, all 7 strategies are now lifestyle habits. Your brain is receiving optimal protection. You're building cognitive reserve. You're reducing inflammation. You're clearing toxic proteins during sleep. You're strengthening neural connections. Month 12. You've reduced your Alzheimer's risk by 40 to 60% compared to where you were a year ago. Your cognitive function is better than it was. Your brain is healthier. You're protecting yourself from the most devastating disease of aging. 10 years from now, while your peers are developing cognitive decline, you're maintaining sharp mental function. You're active, independent, cognitively intact. The 7 strategies you implemented today are protecting you. This is not theoretical. This is based on decades of research involving hundreds of thousands of people. These strategies work. They protect your brain. They reduce Alzheimer's risk dramatically. Final thoughts. I want you to imagine something with me. It's 15 years from now. You never implemented these strategies. You stayed sedentary. You ate poorly. You slept badly. You became socially isolated. You stopped learning. Your cardiovascular health deteriorated. Your stress went unmanaged. Where is your brain now? You're experiencing significant memory loss. You can't remember recent conversations. You repeat yourself constantly. You're getting lost in familiar places. Your family is worried. You're being evaluated for dementia. You're losing yourself. Now imagine the alternative. You started today. You implemented these 7 strategies. You stayed consistent. It's 15 years later, and your mind is still sharp. You remember names. You learn new things easily. You're cognitively engaged. You're fully present with your loved ones. You're living the life you want to live. Which future do you want? The choice is entirely yours. I've given you 7 evidence-based strategies that can reduce your Alzheimer's risk by 40 to 60%. That's more powerful than any medication that exists. But it requires action. It requires consistency. It requires starting today. So here's what I want you to do right now. Choose one strategy. Just one. Start today. Maybe you commit to 45 minutes of walking, starting tomorrow. Maybe you buy Mediterranean diet groceries today. Maybe you schedule a sleep study this week. Maybe you call an old friend today. Maybe you enroll in a language course. Maybe you schedule a doctor's appointment to check your cardiovascular health. Maybe you download a meditation app right now. Pick one, start there. Add the others over the next 3 months. Your brain can be protected. I've seen it too many times to doubt it. But your cognitive future depends on the actions you take today. And those actions start right now. If this video helped you, share it with someone who needs it. There are millions of people terrified of Alzheimer's who don't know they can dramatically reduce their risk. Show them how. And if you want more strategies like this, evidence-based medicine that actually prevents disease, subscribe to this channel. I post new videos every week. Your brain carried you this far. Now it's your turn to protect it.